I have no audio from David. Okay, so I'm assuming the rest of you didn't have audio from David either. I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. My friend David Menzies is sorting out the audio situation, and you are watching the first Rebel Roundup of 2025. This is our twice weekly show wherein we talk about the news of the day completely unscripted, as you can tell, and David is back. David, thank you for coming back.
Can you hear me, Sheila
I
Gunreed?
can hear you now, and I think everybody else can hear you too.
Oh, there you go. Well, sorry for those technical difficulties, folks. But as I was saying, do you know that today is National Drinking Straw Day? And what do you think my co host prefers? Cardboard or plastic drinking straws? I only asked that question because already I have asked the dumbest question of 2025, but we have 362 more days to go. In any
So bring
event,
it
she
home.
is the she devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is the beloved Sheila Gunreed. Happy New Year to you, Sheila.
Thank you, David. Happy New Year to you too. Did you also notice that today is National Humiliation Day? So you can check that one right off the list.
2 for 1.
2 for 1. I am broadcasting from my new studio setup that I ripped out and redid during the Christmas break because, well, I thought it was time. I haven't had like a physical studio in ever, and I do. Oh, we're zooming in. Did my
Wow.
camera do that? I hope it didn't.
It
I don't. Yeah, it's my end. See, I haven't figured out how to stop my silly little camera from zooming in, and I think it happens when I wave my arms around like a lunatic, which is how I talk. So, David, take it away while I figure out what the
Yeah.
heck I've done to myself.
Well, I got to tell you, Sheila, that zoom in, it reminds me of that
No.
SCTV sketch, Extreme Close Up, where the host is literally 2 millimeters away from the interviewee face. So, and I'm not complaining. You got that
I am.
new.
I'm in my mid 40s. I don't need a camera this close to my face. Good gracious.
Sheila, that new 2025 hairdo. That I'm telling you, in
It's
Toronto,
the same.
if you went to
It's the
Yorkville
same
Avenue,
hair.
that's a $350 haircut. I'm telling you, wild yet controlled, you know. But
It's the same
in
hair
any
as
event,
always.
as Sheila sorts out her technical
Please.
difficulty, really, folks, we're really off on the right foot this
Oh,
year.
David, just take it away. I've got to figure out what's going on here because we're slightly too close to my face. But yes, if you wouldn't mind explaining to people what we're doing around here while I sort out my technical difficulties. Ugh.
Indeed. Well, you know, we look at all the stories of the news cycle. And really, right now, we're kind of in that quasi silly season of Christmas, New Year's. If you work for the federal government, you're still on holiday, of course. But the real world carries on. And wow, there are just tons of stories in the news cycle. There is. That never slows down, and we can't complain because we are in the news business. Now we do this Rebel News live stream every Monday and Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's usually myself and Sheila Gunreed, who is busily zooming out so we don't get too close to her. I don't think she has anything to complain about. She said she's in her 40s. Doesn't look a day over 39 to me, folks.
Okay, thank God.
My Khaleesi is back.
Oh, I have to keep my hands down. My camera has like AI framing, and I think when I do stuff with my hands, it signals it to zoom in. So I'm just going to sort of sit my hands under the desk and hope for the best.
You know what, Sheila? Last year, our beloved boss man Ezra Levant, he predicted 2024 was going to be the year of censorship, and wow, did he ever nail it? Too many examples to recite right now. I think what you just said. I think 2025 is going to be the year of AI, for better or for worse in some cases. And I again, you think of all the movies in the science fiction realm, particularly Terminator, where Skynet becomes sentient. And we just saw a brief example of that. Somehow the AI determined you flapping your arms around like you're trying to gain flight means zoom in on me. What are your concerns this year about AI, Sheila?
I think we've just seen my concerns about AI. I think AI is going to be the new job killer for a lot of people in news, in mainstream media. And I think as Poilievre takes control of the government sooner rather than later, he will cut off the subsidies to not just the CBC, but also to the mainstream media. And because of that, they are going to replace their news writers, I believe, with AI.
Mm.
That's what I think. And it could
And you know
happen to a
what,
nicer
Sheila?
bunch.
I can tell you, Mr. Vice President Etan, last year, he went to one of those AI programs, and basically what he instructed it to do was write a David Menzies monologue for ELS.
Oh,
And
God.
shockingly, in my words, the AI program provided a monologue script. But what really scared me sincerely, Sheila, was that it included a dad joke, it included a Star Trek reference, and it included something slightly risque with the word anyway after it. And
I
basically,
know.
Tan said, we really don't need you anymore. That's
Yeah.
not what I
Sorry,
was
David.
looking for.
Enjoy your retirement, your unceremonious retirement. Let's get down to business,
Yes.
though. I think I have my problems all sorted out. My lights are a little bit blue, but I can sort of tweak those. Sorry, Olivia, we're doing this in real time as I sort things out. But if people want to get involved in the show, if you're watching us on YouTube, might I suggest you wander on over to Rumble? That's a great free speech platform that doesn't care about your politics. It'll let you speak your mind, and it'll also let you do something else because we're completely demonetized on YouTube. However, Rumble allows you to support creators that you like. And you can do that through something called a Rumble Rant. It's how we democratize the show and give you your say. So if your Rumble Rant, that's their paid chat, is over the $5 US cutoff, we are obligating ourselves to read it on air. And don't let that be the bar for entry, though, because we frequently read chats that fall below the $5 US cutoff if we have time. And as you know, we always go over time. So there will be time, is what I'm telling you. So I think that's it, David. Let's get down to the Liberal problems, shall we? And I'm really struggling to keep my hands on the desk. Like I've got a coffee cup in one hand and my mouse in the other so that I don't wave my hands around and cause my camera to zoom in on me. Liberal cabinet minister Marco Mendicino not running in the next election.
Aw.
Yeah.
Sheila, I got to be honest. I'm of two minds when I read that headline. First of all, Marco Mendicino, he is such a liar. If he were to spit in your face, he would say it's actually raining. And if anyone's saying, oh, aren't you worried about defamation? No, it's been proven over and over again that he's a liar. Remember when he was public safety minister, Sheila, when he said that law enforcement advised him to clamp down on the trucker convoy. And what happened? Well, the media and I think an inquiry reached out to the RCMP and the Ottawa Police Service and the OPP. And it was no, no, no. So who in law enforcement, Marco Mendicino, were you referencing? Was it maybe somebody in the City of Ottawa bylaw department? No, he clammed up about that. Then there was that fiasco where he claimed he was out of the loop when Canada's most notorious serial killer was transferred to, from maximum security to Club Fed, a place that actually has its own hockey rink for the offenders. I'm talking about Paul Bernardo, of course. Does anyone believe that Marco Mendicino was not informed of that before it happened? And now he is and I guess it adds credence, Sheila, to rats deserting a sinking ship, although I hesitate to use the rat descriptor. I don't want to offend the rodent community, but he knows the writing is on the wall, and he doesn't want to face the music. And this is where I am of two minds. I really don't want Justin Trudeau, as I don't want Marco Mendicino to step down. I want them to go down with that sinking ship. Yeah. What say you, Sheila?
Yeah, it's clear, Mendicino is a fair weather friend. But for the longest time, he was the dude enforcing all of Justin Trudeau's bad ideas, just like Freeland. He's the guy who joked with David Lametti about using tanks on the Freedom Convoy. He thought that was a big funny joke. And just further to your point that no police agencies asked Mendicino for the use of the Emergencies Act. It was the police agencies themselves who testified at the Public Order Emergency Commission that that Mendicino and subsequently Lametti were just making things up out of whole cloth. And Mendicino, he's been the gun grab pusher. So, like he's been instrumental in so many of Justin Trudeau's flagship policies, including the illegal invocation of the Emergencies Act. Good riddance to this liar, but I would love to see him just go down with the sinking ship. He should have Trudeau tied around his neck like a millstone. But he's getting out while the getting's good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being denied some kind of perverse pleasure.
Me too.
A Schadenfreude kind of moment, as the Germans refer to. But Jill, I got to read the last paragraph of the Toronto Sun story today about Marco No-Go is the headline. It's a pickup from the Canadian Press. But this tells you all you need to know about Marco Mendicino after it describes all the fiascos and all the lying that this individual was responsible for during his tenure as a Liberal MP. This is how the story ends. Quote, more recently, Mendicino has been a vocal supporter of the Jewish community and has pressured the Liberal government to do more to tackle hate in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war, end quote. Now, riddle me this, Sheila. Why, oh, why do you think Mendicino is a supporter of the Jewish community? It can't possibly be because his North Toronto riding of Eglinton Lawrence has a significant Jewish minority in it, which is what I'm saying here, Sheila. And I don't have any way to prove it, but I would bet my life on it. If this riding we're in had a significant Muslim percentage, Mendicino is on Team Hamas 100%. This is a guy that doesn't care about right or wrong. He only does what's good for Marco Mendicino. He is the worst of the worst.
Well, he's of the worst of the worst. I think it's hard to differentiate who is the worst of the worst days. But yeah, I mean, it's he's going to be punished by the Jewish community for being part of a Liberal caucus that has allowed these Hamas mobs to run amok across Toronto, and particularly in Jewish neighborhoods. That's why Yara Sachs is going to lose her seat in a beautiful and catastrophic way. The same thing is probably going to happen to Mendicino too. So he can say that he's a supporter of the Jewish community, but I mean, that words are just words.
And Sheila, I got to tell you, this must be so concerning for the Liberal Party of Canada, because these are 416 ridings.
Oh, yeah.
They're fairly safe. I mean, it's not that they've never been conservative before, but when you're talking about Eglinton Lawrence, when you're talking about Yara Sachs riding, York Centre, flipping, oh, man, that is a bellwether of a disaster in the making, I would argue.
Yeah, and it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. We've got further to the rats fleeing the sinking ship. Atlantic Liberal Caucus is now calling for Trudeau's resignation. It's a little late, guys. If they had called for his resignation over the levy of the carbon tax on Atlantic Canada, or affordability issues, or out of control immigration, which puts strain on our housing and our healthcare and our wages. If they had called for his resignation for those reasons a couple of years ago, I would believe this was slightly sincere. But this is just self-serving nonsense. And as I said on X, as Shania Twain sang in 1993, dance with the one that brought you. These guys supported Trudeau, propped him up, sink with him. Sink with him. Go down with the ship, losers.
Oh, yes, 1993. That's when Prime Minister for a day, Kim Campbell was.
Yeah, well, we're going to have that. That's, you know what? Looking at those polling numbers where the BQ is now poised to form the official opposition, we're ready for a Kim Campbell style blowout
Oh,
of the Liberals.
yeah, and Kim Campbell took a majority government to, I called it the Mazda Miata party.
Oh yeah.
Namely, it's a 2-seat party. I mean, it seems inconceivable, but that's what happened in 1993, folks. And I think it could happen again. I'll settle for a minivan party, 7 or 8 people who are Liberal MPs. But Sheila, the big question is this, and the speculation really ramped up earlier this week, with many pundits saying today, Friday, was when they expected Justin Trudeau to complete his walk in the snow, like his alleged father did many decades ago, and say, yeah, for the good of the party, for the good of the country, however he's going to phrase it, I'm stepping down. I said days ago, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think he is going to willingly step down. I wouldn't bet on it or against it, but I just think he's in that kind of psychological mindset that he thinks he can win again. And he thinks his strategy, especially come January 20th, when Donald Trump becomes the 47th president of the United States, he is going to be Canada's savior against mean orange man, the mean tariffs that he's threatening to put in. I think that's the card he's going to play. And unless he's forced out, I don't see him going willingly. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't see him going willingly either. However, I saw maybe Olivia or Efron can bring it up a couple hours ago. I think Brian Lilly tweeted about it, of all people. He about the potential for Justin Trudeau to resign today. I'm not. I'll believe it when I see it. I think he might resign before he's forced out through a confidence vote because he's that sort of control freak. But I do believe that it is not even that he feels himself to be a savior of the Canadian economy, which he has absolutely torched to the ground from Trump tariffs. We know Danielle Smith is already doing her best to save the economy, and she's acting as Canada's de facto foreign affairs minister. So I don't know if there's even room for Trudeau to do something on that front. I think that he just thinks that this is his hereditary birthright. And in the same way that you would inherit a piece of property from your parents upon their death, Justin Trudeau feels that he has inherited the Prime Minister's office, and it's his to do with what he wants. And I think that's where we're at. He's just that level of entitled. He's like Canada's prince.
I think you're right. And Sheila, why don't we shift from the pundits to the people on the street, such as that lovely lady that you interviewed during the Christmas holidays. It got a lot of views.
Oh, did it?
And well, it should. And
hang on, before we do that, can I just get an ad read from Rumble out of the way? And then we'll go into those, because we have two interactions with our hereditary leader on the street, because the peasants were talking to him, and then the tone policing broke out from the official CBC conservative types and the mainstream media, who were clutching their pearls about this. And I've got a lot to say about it, but Rumble lets me say these things, and we're so grateful for that. So this sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's incredibly important to the survival of Rumble, but also to us here at Rebel News as well. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built a platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but boy, did they ever. Facebook admitted they felt pressure from the Biden and Harris administration in Canada. We know that Facebook was listening to Health Canada when Health Canada would call and complain and say that the normals were saying a little bit too truthy of things about COVID, and they would pull down your posts. Rumble didn't. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us at Rebel News a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble's fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show right now on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble's offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. Just, you know what? Cancel your YouTube Premium and just plant that over at a company that lets you speak your mind. But if you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. All right. I see that we have a couple of chats.
Or Sheila, on that
Go ahead.
note, let's take a page from our former finance minister, Chrystia Freeland. Cancel your Disney Plus subscription and shift that money to a Rumble Premium subscription. Not that I really believe Freeland canceled her Disney Plus.
I don't believe anything Freeland has ever said. When she's like, I don't drive a car. I live downtown Toronto, so I don't drive a car. And then she's like getting a speeding ticket in Alberta because she's a speed demon, and she uses a driver everywhere. Like, there's nothing that woman says that is remotely true.
No, I know for a fact she drives a car. It's a Volkswagen, actually. I know that because after Fraulein Freeland had me physically assaulted and falsely arrested last January.
The nose.
Yeah,
with her grandpa being a Nazi, she's driving a Volkswagen.
Oh, I know. Another connection, eh? The people's car. But yeah, I know for a fact she does have a car. So if she's actually said that, Sheila, well, another Marco Mendicino moment, wouldn't you say?
These people. We've got a couple of chats, and they're, of course, from our friend Annalisa, who is a supporter of the show, and more importantly, just the biggest hype woman for David Menzies that you'll ever meet. I don't know. Again, there's no accounting for taste. It takes all kinds, as my mom used to say. Annalisa 1964 says, finally I get to watch live. It's been a while. Got my crocheting, coffee, and my two favorite rebels. So I need to start the new year making Sheila say my wonderful words about sweet Menzies. And oh, does she ever?
You know, I'll tell you, Sheila, next time I'm in Northern Alberta, I if they say, flattery doesn't work, well, I'm going to prove that to be a falsehood. I have to take Annalisa out for a coffee. She can bring her husband along just in case
chaperone.
People think there's any monkey business going on. But for all those nice words for years now, I think I owe a debt of gratitude to Annalisa. So happy New Year to you, my friend.
Oh, David, just wait. There's more. Annalisa gives another $20 to absolutely humiliate me on this World Humiliation Day, forcing me to read this. Oh, sweet Menzies, you're looking very handsome today. And, oh, God, I'm going to drive you. And very sexy. Yummy, yummy. Thanks, Sheila. You're an incredible lady. Thank you, Annalisa.
Sheila, at what point do we have to put a parental advisory warning on the screen?
Anytime now. Anytime now. Okay, let's get into...
Thank you, Annalisa.
Speaking of things spoken in public, that we've got the lady, her name is Emily Duggan. And I sat down and interviewed her. You can watch the long form. It's like 20 some odd minutes over the Christmas holiday. And this lady was at the ski hill with her kids. She heard that Justin Trudeau was at the ski hill, and she thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I ran into him? Well, as it turns out, she was in the parking lot waiting on her kids to finish because she's got a knee injury. Ironically enough, she can't get it dealt with because of Justin Trudeau's healthcare system. And so she was sort of waiting for her kids to finish instead of continuing on the ski hill. And lo and behold, a pile of security shows up, and there's Justin Trudeau. So, language warning, this lady, in the most polite of Canadian ways, tells Trudeau to go F off.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the fuck out of BC.
Have a wonderful day now.
Yeah, you suck.
Oh, Sheila, I think I can speak for the both of us when I say that Emily Duggan is our second favorite Duggan in the entire world. What do you say?
Yeah, she's right there behind Hacksaw for sure. Um, Immediately after this, the fancy people of the world were like, "How dare you say those mean things to Justin Trudeau in front of his children?" Excuse me. This is the guy who drags his kids to the naked man penis parties that we call Pride season in this country. So I'm not sure if we're supposed to be concerned about the things Justin Trudeau's kids are exposed to, because he exposes his kids to all manner of deviancy. Not only that, he funds organizations that want to ram this deviancy into other people's kids' faces through the school system. So we know he does that. So his look, I do my best not to swear in front of kids. It's just a personal rule I have. But our kids heard Justin Trudeau say all manner of things about us for 2 straight years, wondering if we should be in society. Maybe we should be launched into the surface of the sun. He said that people who oppose him are fringe radical white supremacists, and should there be space for us in Canadian society? Our kids heard the most powerful man in the country say those things about their parents for 2 straight years, and it was amplified by the mainstream media. So I'm not sure I care for all the tone policing of Emily Duggan these days.
You know, it's amazing, Sheila. You referenced Brian Lilley of the Toronto Sun earlier. I couldn't help but notice the tweet from Brian Lilley's best friend, Warren Kinsella, who inexplicably writes for the Sun, even though he's a hardcore liberal. How do I know that? Well, he actually worked on the Kamala Harris campaign and made the worst prediction of 2024, i.e. that Kamala Harris was going to win. Why? Because campaigns matter and she's going to get the vote out. Hello? Not only did Donald Trump win the Electoral College, he won the popular vote too. So that tells you a little bit about Mr. Kinsella's credibility. But he tweeted, I hope I got the words verbatim, Justin Trudeau is a bad prime minister, but this woman is a horrible person. Why? What makes her horrible, Sheila? She is saying what millions of Canadians are saying, and we will know that to be true come election day this year.
Yeah, and according to her, Justin Trudeau said to her, "Oh, you hobbled all the way over here to say that to me?" Like taking a jab at her because she's limping because of our crappy healthcare system that thanks to the federal government, we can't really engage in private healthcare, so she can't get her knee fixed. I just, these people are ridiculous.
And Emily missed an opportunity there, I think, Sheila, saying, yeah, I'm hobbling for the precise reason you just gave. I'm on some grotesque waiting line to get my knee fixed. If we had good health care, I'd be running over to you. Well, maybe not running. That might get Uncle Fester of the Mounties upset and he'll tackle you and falsely arrest you. But that's gallop, maybe.
Well, that's what I said to her in our interview, because she said, I didn't catch Trudeau saying the hobbling comment because I was trying to upload the video as fast as I can in case something happened to me at the hands of Justin Trudeau's security. And I was like, you were right to be worried about that because they did that to David Menzies, not just Trudeau's security detail, but Freeland's as well. So yeah, I was like, yeah, you were good job. You were like, you needed the public record that you even existed before these people disappeared you for a while. I mean, and then people saying like, oh, it was staged, it was this, it was that. I thought, you know what? It might be the Christmas holidays. Everybody is talking about this woman. Could a single journalist in this country try to talk to her? So I and my friend Lise, we just sat down and talked to her and asked her, like, hey, what do you feel about these criticisms that you shouldn't have said those things in front of Trudeau's kids? How did it happen? What brought you to the bottom of the ski hill? The things people wanted to know, and based on the view numbers on that video, people wanted to hear more from Emily. So I'm glad.
And Sheila, I'll make a very quick clarification. There was one other journalist, a great guy, a great journalist. That would be Joe Warmington, who
Yes.
did reach out and interview her, and it was front
That's
page
right.
of the Sunday Sun. So good for Joe for seeing a bona fide news story and reporting it, even though the rest of his mainstream media, trained seals, they don't like to bite the hand that feeds, and get personal with blackface. But Joe is the one other guy that I know of that did reach out to Emily and interview her.
Yeah, let's watch this next video because I've got just one more point to make on Justin Trudeau's vacation habits over the Christmas season. But let's watch this next one. Trudeau gets absolutely roasted by a guy that's sitting next to him at the cafe on his taxpayer-funded ski trip in BC. I hope he never is able to show his face in public ever again. But let's watch.
Yeah, that's him, all right.
Okay, so here's the thing. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
That might be the very best 4-second video of the year. Was it done last year? I guess last year. So
No,
we ended with a bang.
Yeah.
But, and Sheila, if I may, I just want to say this about the whole blackface scandal, which was overlooked and underreported by Canadian media, not foreign media. What does that tell you, folks? But the one thing I find so despicable, it isn't so much the blackface paint, but it's the fact that whenever Trudeau is donning that, he is sticking his tongue out like a panting dog. Here we have some video. You'll see what I mean.
Weirdo.
Sheila, is this how Justin Trudeau thinks black people, mingle in the community? They're sticking their tongues out like dogs. Could you imagine if that was a conservative politician doing that, how much he'd be roasted? Well, he'd be roasted to the point of being out of a career, I would argue.
Yeah. I mean, this is his thing. He has done blackface so many times that he doesn't remember how many times he did it. And I thought it was an interesting point that somebody made. Trudeau made sure the pictures of him in blackface were in that yearbook. There were other pictures of him doing other goofy things in and around that school, but those were the ones that were like given the Trudeau thumbs up because he thought it was clever. And this was in a time when I think most people knew that blackface would constitute racism among the fancy people circles. But I just want to talk a little bit about Justin Trudeau's Christmas holiday, because it's clear that he's rubbing it in our faces. After denying Canadians the ability to have an affordability election, because it's not just about the carbon tax, it's about how you can't live in Canada anymore. And our crime rate is higher than that of the United States right now. Crime rate. If you take certain cities out of the equation, like Chicago and places like that, the Canadian crime rate, violent crime rate, is higher than that of the United States. And Justin Trudeau did that.
Yep.
If Justin Trudeau denied Canadians the ability to have an election, to go into 2025 with a new government and some hope, the man, if he had any shame whatsoever, would not have shown his face after the end of the sitting of the House of Commons. He has an entire winter vacation property paid for by the taxpayer. It's a private residence. It's known as Harrington Lake. It's got an ice surface there that is fully maintained all the time. It has had gajillions of dollars worth of upgrades since Justin Trudeau came into office. It's got cross-country ski trails that are maintained whether or not the Prime Minister is there or not. Infrared sauna, hot tub, fully upgraded facilities, a guest house. It's at Harrington Lake. The man, if he had any shame, would have went there quietly and had a Christmas vacation. Instead, he's out rubbing his vacation in our faces. Do you know where Pierre Poilievre spent his Christmas vacation? I don't, because he didn't rub it in our faces.
Sheila, forget Harrington Lake. I am absolutely shocked he didn't go to some remote Caribbean island that is off limits to anyone, including the paparazzi. But it speaks to, again, the lack of awareness, just like when it came to blackface, how
think
he
he's aware.
insisted the school board, the book the school published, have those pictures in. This speaks to also a lack of awareness in terms of, you know what, I'll go to a public ski resort in BC, and you know what, that'll create some opportunities for some feel-good photo ops. And wow, look at what happened to those feel-good photo ops. Oh, you got the photo op right, pal, but they were disasters PR-wise.
Of course. But again, I think he was rubbing this in our faces. He could have went somewhere private, but he wanted Canadians to know, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And so that's what we got.
You might be right. You can't read a mind. And so maybe it was, I offered the theory, a lack of awareness, but what you're saying, Sheila, that this was maliciousness.
Yes.
He was deliberately giving the middle finger, much like his alleged father used to do from time to time with Canadians, especially those in Western Canada. So you might be right, Sheila.
I think I am right. Let's go on to, Olivia says we don't need to take an ad break unless we get a Rumble ad read. But let's go on to Canada versus US, because this next one is quite something. Trudeau also canceled all his end of the year sit down interviews with all the news outlets, which would have been mostly friendly, considering all those news outlets are funded by Justin Trudeau in one form or another, so they can only push so far. But he canceled them all and sat down with Mark Critch.
Oh, jeez.
The CBC comedian. Can you call him that? CBC creation, Mark Critch. Sometimes he says some funny things. I don't know. But he sat down for a friendly interview with Justin Trudeau, and they talk about Donald Trump, Freedom Convoy protesters, and border security. So let's listen to this nonsense.
And then, like all good Quebecers, when it got cold, you frigged off down to Florida. You went to Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. How exciting. How was the food? Was it as plastic as the people in the surgery?
Actually, it was a really good steak.
When you were there, Donald Trump said, quite frankly, Canada should become the 51st state, and he'd let you stay on as the governor, which is the best offer you've had in a while. Should Canada become the 51st state? And I'm not against it, because at least then we have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah, there was a lot discussed during those 3 hours. That was an offhand jocular moment. I don't think it was serious, even from him.
And well, then he tweeted a picture of him standing with a Canadian flag looking out at a mountain range, but that was actually Switzerland. Is that
the Matterhorn, wasn't it?
Yeah. Is that our greatest defense? Is that Americans are really bad at geography?
I think our greatest defense is that we do things together across the border, and anything they do that will hurt us will also hurt them. And that's something that he doesn't want to do.
Trump wants you to secure the border. You know who should get to do that? The Freedom Convoy people. You just line up all those trucks along the border, and, you know, they love to barricade things. There's no drugs getting past them. And you don't even have to pay him or feed him, because Pierre Poilievre is just going to go back and forth all day giving him Timbits. And so you went down there. He liked that, kind of likes to be flattered. Would you consider inviting him up to Canada for a state visit like you did for President Biden?
Yes.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
He'd like that. No, if you strengthen the border, he can't get in because he's a convicted felon. We'll see how it goes. And we know that 40 years ago, your father famously took a walk in the snow when the Conservatives were up in the polls and decided it was time to give it up. It's snowing out there now.
When my father was my age, he still had a dozen years of prime ministering ahead of him.
Oh, my God. Oh, what's it going to be?
Oh, come on.
Oh, no, wait. Good luck.
That. More of these flags everywhere, please.
Good luck in 2025, because you're going to need it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What's a nice on my pickup truck?
Wow, I don't know where to begin, Sheila. So please, as I recompose myself, you take it away.
You know, the idea that Pierre Poilievre might bring Timbits to Freedom Convoy protesters shows just an absolute lack of awareness about what is actually happening in this country. We have police services that are out there bringing Timbits to pro-Hamas protesters.
Exactly.
Just, do you not work for CBC? If you work for CBC, might I suggest you watch some of the network's coverage just so that you're aware of what's happening in the country, even if it is through an absolutely taxpayer-funded liberal lens. Maybe you might want to know. Do you think that it's a good idea to be talking about how everybody's plastic down at Mar-a-Lago in the middle of trade showdown with the Americans, while Danielle Smith is working her butt off to try to salvage what's left of the Canadian economy and build inroads into the Trump administration? The only interview Trudeau does about the end of the year, about his end to 2024, is with an anti-Trump comedian at the state broadcaster. It's dumb. It's just dumb.
Sheila, what I found the most offensive part of that interview is right in the beginning. And it's all about the hypocrisy and the double standard. And it was when Justin Trudeau admitted that when he was down in Mar-a-Lago, he had a great steak dinner. And I'm thinking, since Trudeau is so in on WEF policies, I thought we're supposed to be eating crickets, not steak. I thought we're supposed to be giving up our cars, at least fossil fuel burning cars, for EVs. Although the Prime Minister's motorcade, it's exclusively 8-cylinder fossil fuel SUVs. And so he said that without a hint of irony. Forget about the war on the farmer when it comes to me. I like my steak dinner when I go down to Florida. Unbelievable.
Yeah, however, I'm pretty sure they don't serve crickets at Mar-a-Lago. I think that would be like your safest place to not find a cricket. Protein, anything would be at Mar-a-Lago. Speaking of the tariff problems with the United States and humorless politicians not knowing the difference between a Trump joke and reality, we've got old loony Liz May, the cult leader of the fringe Green Party cult here in Canada. She went on a tirade today against Trump's heckling of Canada, joking about Canada becoming the 51st state and replacing Trudeau with Wayne Gretzky. She thinks these are all real things, I think. Anyways, let's watch. I've got stuff to say.
So no, sorry. And I really also take offense, sorry, Mr. Trump, took offense to your idea that Pierre Poilievre wasn't good enough to lead the Conservatives. Wayne Gretzky, he's great. He is the great one. He skates to where the puck is going. It's not going to MAGA. The puck is on a Canadian ice rink. And by the way, Mr. Trump, please, before making public pronouncements that Wayne Gretzky should run for prime minister, give yourself or get yourself a briefing on the nature of parliamentary democracy, a Westminster parliamentary system, and a constitutional monarchy where no one runs for prime minister. We have elections.
No.
For members of parliament. We don't get to pick and choose among our billionaire friends for who gets a seat at the cabinet table. If they're not an elected member of parliament, well, Canadian system is different from that of the United States of America. I suggest that Mr. Trump find one of his grandchildren's school books and look at the year 1776, which may explain a few things to him about why our systems of government are different. I don't want to belittle Mr. Trump, but on the other hand, hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province.
Ooh.
How about it? California, Oregon, Washington.
Yikes.
You've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our West Coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free health care. Universal free health care. No more one-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor. Universal, free healthcare. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is too afraid to pass because of the national gun lobby, we already got our strict gun laws. That's why we have the safest streets around the world, or at least in the United States, by
Liz?
the way, the most recent stats, 5.9 out of every 100,000 people is killed in a fatal gun incident versus 0.88 per 100,000 in Canada. That's because we have strict gun laws. California citizens, Oregon, Washington, safer streets. Here we already have good gun laws, and women have a right to an abortion under our universal health care system. But, we don't have to stop there. Donald, think about it. You could get rid of all these states that always vote Democrat. You know what else will take Bernie Sanders off your hands? Proud new Canadian citizen of the great province of Vermont. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. We'd love to see you. Our maritime provinces already have deep, deep links and ties. Well, enough kidding around. But honestly, President Trump, get used to it. Canada is a sovereign nation full of, guess what, proud Canadians. We're not jingoistic. We don't boast a lot. That's one of the things we kind of have in common with Jimmy Carter. We're not a big nation for braggarts and bullies. We actually like to think we're of service in the world. We could do better. We can always do better. But we love our country. And it's a country. It's a nation. And we do not aspire to be 51st state. So let's not hear that anymore. If it was a joke, it was never funny. And it ends now.
Oh, there's a joke on the screen, all right. And, I don't know, Sheila, maybe it's elder abuse. Maybe it's offside to make fun of the mentally ill. But, I mean, it's so telling, her cherry picking of the states. On the left coast, California, Washington, and Oregon. And then on the East Coast, we have Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. How about Florida, Texas, and Tennessee? Those are my kind of states if we're adding new Canadian provinces. But, Sheila, at least she didn't go full Islamic terrorism. Do you remember a decade ago, and maybe super producer Olivia can source that infamous embarrassment that was Elizabeth May? I think it was at the Correspondents' Dinner in Ottawa. And I think she was drunk. In fact, I would bet on it. And she started singing Welcome Back, Cotter, but to changing the lyric Cotter to Cotter, our own homegrown Al-Qaeda terrorist. This woman is a lunatic, Sheila.
She said that she was on NyQuil at the time.
Oh, really?
And I believe that, I'm not sure if NyQuil is habit forming, but I would guess it is because she's behaving this. Look at her. Okay, I'll shut up. Let's show this.
Representing Ontario, but really that would have been my fun moment, but they don't let me in on that. I don't know why. I keep begging, Lisa, Megan, what can I do? I want to be a backup girl, do up. Anyway, I have very little time to share with you what must be important, which is to say, we've now heard from the only 3 of us as federal party leaders, but there are 4 of us. Voici les 4 chefs des partis au niveau fédéral. Et la question clé, c'est que lequel ce n'est pas comme les autres, comme des autres. Peut-être tout le monde pense, mais participer. It never occurred to me that we would have a prime minister who didn't show up, right? It's been 9 years. Okay. I gotta calm down.
Yeah.
Anyway, she goes on. Lisa MacLeod has to come drag her drunk ass off the stage. Where was Lisa MacLeod today? Because we could have used a little bit of it. Listen. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Lisa MacLeod should wear like a referee uniform. And by the way, what you're looking at, folks, that was the theme from Welcome Back, Kotter, a forgettable 1970 sitcom, but she was singing Welcome Back, Kotter. Can you imagine someone who aspires to be prime minister lauding a terrorist who killed one of our allies and partially blinded another, and of course was nicely rewarded with 10.5 million? That was one of the first things the Justin Trudeau Liberals did back in 2016. Sheila, I don't recognize this world sometimes. I can't believe the caliber of people that get into public office, quite frankly.
And Liz May she's like, I say she is a cult leader, because once she gets ousted, and then she just gets right back in.
Yep.
Like it's crazy. The woman is absolutely insane.
Yep.
Like that, what we saw there was a press conference, like not the Lisa McLeod saving her from herself. And, that's how bad it was, is that a conservative had to come get on stage and rescue, I think, the audience from Liz May. I don't think she was rescuing Liz May from herself. I think she was trying to spare the audience any more nonsense. Because, Liz May can blow herself up who cares, right? But what we saw on her tirade about Trump, that was a press conference about Trump jokes. And she had prepared notes. Like, she was making sure, like, she was like, yeah, this is going to be good. Say that, Liz. Say that, Liz. Like, talking herself up, making notes to make sure she got all the things she wanted to say out. And frankly, after listening to her, I hope she is our trade negotiator with the Trump administration, because I accept those terms. Let's do a swap. I'll go to the United States, like the central part of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and maybe a little bit of Manitoba. We'll go where we're more culturally compatible, and Canada gets New York, Oregon, and California. I accept these terms. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Oh, I don't know. And, Sheila, let's not forget, just like Trudeau, such a flagrant hypocrite. This is the leader of the Green Party. And do you remember a few years back, I think it was in BC I think it was the Victoria Day parade. And what vehicle was Elizabeth May in the parade? Was it a plug-in Toyota Prius? Oh, no. It was a Dodge Viper. Think about that, folks. A two-seater, 10-cylinder, 640 horsepower car. And she's not like sneaking off to a country retreat. She's proudly in a parade when she's advocating going green. Again, a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But that's Liz May. There's something, I think, psychologically wrong with that woman.
Yep.
Completely. She took a big swipe at Danielle Smith today, said Danielle Smith isn't helpful by going to the Trump inauguration. Like, Danielle Smith, like I said, is working her butt off to try to save the Canadian economy from Trump tariffs, trying to build inroads to make sure that our oil and gas isn't tariffed, our agriculture isn't tariffed, and doing the things that the federal government should be doing at the border, securing the Alberta border, even though that is a federal government duty. She's sending our public safety minister down to Texas to meet with the Americans to talk about border security. This is all stuff that our current public safety minister federally should be doing if he wanted to rescue the Canadian economy from tariffs. We're doing it. And she's saying, oh, Danielle Smith, you're not being helpful. She's trying to save everybody, not just Alberta, but whatever. Liz May's tirades aren't helpful. We've got an ad read from our friends at 1775 Coffee. And then we should go into terrorism and immigration. Yeah. So let me just scroll back down. So do you enjoy the free speech that Rumble is protecting and fighting for? You know I do. Our show on Rumble is only possible thanks to our viewers supporting Rumble's platform by purchasing Rumble's products, and that includes Rumble Premium. Most of you drink coffee every day. That's why you have to try Rumble 1775 Coffee. It's actually some of the best coffee, and it's the same price as the coffee you buy now, but it's way better. 1775 coffee is free of chemicals, rich in flavor. This is because their beans are sourced from high-altitude farms in Bolivia, handpicked, roasted weekly at their facility in Miami, and delivered fresh to your doorstep. And as believers in freedom, buying from Rumble helps you fight back against woke corporations like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Join the coffee revolution and the brew rebellion with Rumble 1775 Coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com and use code STUDIO and get a free month's supply of their cognitive boosting supplement Limitless when you buy 2 bags of their coffee. Think about that. It's a crazy deal, and the supplement is worth more than the 2 bags of coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com and try their amazing coffee. We've got one chat from Alberta Dawn who makes a very salient point. Alberta Dawn gives us $5 and says, the G7, this is true, and I cannot wait for this. The G7 is hosting their yearly meeting in June at Kananaskis in Alberta this year. It's a remote mountain resort just west of Calgary. Trudeau considers himself a world leader. There is no way Trudeau steps down before then. That is a great point. With Canada hosting the G7 at Kananaskis, Trudeau's going to want to be the guy there. I just hope he isn't.
You know who my heart breaks for there, Sheila, is Antifa. There's no way they're going to be able to crash that G7 meeting in Kananaskis. Are you kidding? I don't think there's a subway line that runs to that mountain resort. Is there?
No. There's one way in and one way out.
Sorry,
which I
guys.
guess and a helipad. So I guess it makes it really, well, not easy to secure, but they're more able to secure it than, I don't know, where else we might hold it. Where should we hold it? Toronto? Kettle everybody.
No thanks. Been there, done that.
Exactly. So
But at least they gave
violated
birth.
that day. Yeah.
At least they gave birth to the caricature and poster boy for bad policing. And I'm speaking of Officer Bubbles, who actually arrested a little gal who was blowing bubbles. He deemed that to be assault. And he will never live that down.
Let's go to a video from Pierre Poilievre, who wisely continues to go around the mainstream media. He sat down with Dr. Jordan Peterson, I think the preeminent thinker in the Anglosphere, for a long form interview. And I think there are a lot of incredible clips there, but Poilievre really articulated why he wants to be the prime minister, what he plans to fix. And he talks about the promise of Canada and how the promise of Canada has been broken under the Trudeau Liberals. And he talked about Trudeau's mass immigration policy. So let's show that clip, please.
Immigration, porous border. I think our per capita immigration rate exceeds that of the U.S., even given the U.S. open southern border.
Oh, by far. We had a population growth of 1.2 million in 2023. That's on a base of 40 million people. So it's an astonishing number of people to bring in 1 year. Everyone now admits that this was a calamity for housing, the job market, and our healthcare
Well,
system.
Trudeau himself walked it back recently.
He walked it back.
With what was the approximation of a public apology.
Yes. This is after he called everyone who questioned his immigration policy a racist.
Right.
And then he adopted the policies that he was calling racist only a year and a half earlier.
You know, Trudeau reminds me, Sheila, and that's a great example. You were a racist until now, in which case you're not a racist. But there's this great Dennis Rodman story when he was married to Carmen Electra. And Carmen Electra came home early from a trip. And she goes up to the master bedroom, and there is Dennis Rodman, her husband, in bed with another woman. And Carmen Electra says, "Dennis, who's that woman?" And he says, "What woman?" And Carmen Electra says, "The naked woman lying right next to you." And Rodman goes, "Oh, her? She fell out of the ceiling." And that to me is like Justin Trudeau. A minute ago, you were a racist for questioning the amount of immigration into the country. And suddenly, when I say in the words of Jordan Peterson, what approximates a public apology. Sorry for bringing in too many people in too short a time with too few skills. Suddenly, you're not a racist. It's unbelievable, Sheila.
Yeah. I mean, if you question the amount of temporary foreign workers in the country causing the youth unemployment rate in this country to skyrocket a year ago, you were a racist. And now Mark Miller's like, we got to do something about these temporary foreign workers. They're hurting the job market for the young people, and they're driving down the wages. And we're like, yeah, we know. We know. We've been saying that. And you called us fringe radicals because of it. It's just, and they think they're so clever that Canadians don't see what they're doing. We're not hard of remembering at all, you liberal idiots. Now, Danielle Smith has something very similar to say. She the Alberta government has these sort of sit-down interviews with politicians, but Danielle Smith, she has like this, it's almost like a little talk show that they do. And it's on the Your Alberta YouTube channel. And she talks about how Justin Trudeau's immigration surge caught everyone by surprise. And in Alberta, we're not against immigration. We'll take all the Ontarians we can handle who are fleeing Ontario. We're happy to provide jobs for our fellow Canadians who are struggling in other jurisdictions. But we can't do that if Justin Trudeau keeps dumping immigrants into Alberta. So let's listen to that.
The government was building about 19 schools a year, and that was fine when we had sort of a predictable, regular enrollment growth. The surge that we've seen in the last 3 years, I think, caught everyone by surprise. It's part of the reason why you're now having a backlash that is happening, quite frankly, in every province in the country, and why everyone had to put pressure on the federal government to take a more realistic approach to how many newcomers we can actually absorb in our economy. That being said, we now know that we have a huge number of families who've come here, and so a large number of kids who are going to need that care, and our job is to build the schools. So we've increased the amount of schools that we're going to build to 30 per year. We think we need 200,000 new school spaces by 2030. And the model that we're going to use is that we're going to build and own the facilities so that we can make sure that we're managing them over a longer period of time and paying for them over a longer period of time. And it's allowed us to really accelerate that growth. We want to make sure that we're not building too much too fast, because the private sector is also booming. They've got a lot of homes to build.
That's right.
And if you try to pile too much construction in all at once, it can just cause inflation as well. So we do believe that we've got the right balance. We're going to have to keep on monitoring and recalibrating that. But it is we want to be very welcoming to those who are coming here to help build our economy and looking for good jobs. And that means that we've got to keep up with growth.
Wow, Sheila, given that you're an Albertan, it must be so great to have, an adult in the room when it comes to the Premier's chair after what you went through with the NDP for those years.
Yes, and the bait and switch we got with Jason Kenney. It's nice to have an actual conservative who governs as a conservative instead of just a conservative in name only, as what we got with Jason Kenney. He talked a good conservative game, but when the rubber met the road, he was not a conservative at all. So it's refreshing, and she continues to stand up for Alberta's interests, and Alberta's interests continue to be in the best interests of the country. So I couldn't be happier about that. Olivia tells me that we should talk about this Toronto area teen who was arrested over an alleged plan to travel to join ISIS. Police recently, what does it say here? Police recently applied for a terrorism peace bond to restrict the movements of an 18-year-old from Newmarket. The accused cannot be named due to his age. Excusez-moi, he's 18.
Yeah.
How did somebody buy that as a legitimate excuse not to name this person? He's 18. That's an adult. He can vote. Why are we not naming this person? I wonder why we're not naming this person.
You know, I'll go a step further, Sheila. Why are we stopping this person from realizing his ISIS dreams? Here's my policy. Hey, here, we'll even subsidize the flight. Just one hitch. You ain't coming back. You're on a terror watch list now. You're on a no-fly list. So this is, in effect, a one-way trip. And if you've sworn allegiance to ISIS and you want to go to ISIS's backyard, I think that's win-win for Canada and Canadians, Sheila.
I'm of two minds, because if we become a net exporter of terrorism, as we tend to be under Justin Trudeau, I think that's bad for us. I would hate to allow this young man to go to ISIS and then he's involved in terrorism and sex slavery and all those sorts of things that we know ISIS does, burning captives alive and those sorts of things. I would hate to know that Canada let him go. But I also don't want him here. So, you know, what do we do about that? The article goes on. Yeah, I guess, but then I don't know. If we know he's going to commit terrorist acts, do we let him go?
Well, here's the thing. What's to stop him from committing terrorist attacks in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada,
Right.
Sheila?
See,
You
this is what
export
do you
it-
do with these guys?
Yeah.
You know what you do with these guys? You don't let them into the country in the first place.
Well, I agree
That's what
with
you do
that,
with
but if
these
he wants
guys.
to go back to the shite hole from whence he and his family came from, by all means, I don't see a downside here.
Yeah, and you know, on the flip side, as long as the Liberals are in power, he'll go there,
Yep.
do something bad, get into trouble, and then like start waving around his Canadian passport, so that somebody comes and gets him and brings him home, like so many ISIS brides have done. The article goes on to explain that although the defendant is an adult now, much of the allegations occurred, it should say many of the allegations occurred while he was a young person,
Oh,
said
okay.
Natalie Houle, spokesperson for the Public Prosecution Service of Canada. Yes, but if he's 18 now and he's still expressing an interest to go, name him, please.
Yeah. No, now I see the weasel words that they're using to prevent his identity from being presented. You know, Sheila, if that was an identical person with some white supremacist group, what do you
Proud
think?
Boy.
Yeah, we'd probably have his address in the story, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, if this guy was a Proud Boy, we'd know everything about him. We'd know what church he goes to. RCMP carried out 2 high-profile operations in 2024 targeting Ontario-based men accused of planning ISIS-inspired mass murders. Just 2 in 2024. Of course, we know the LDDs. They were arrested in Toronto in July and charged with, that's the guy who was featured in the ISIS hacking up a crucified prisoner video, who became a Canadian citizen subsequent to that. He was arrested, and then separately, RCMP arrested Mohammed Shahzeb Khan in September, a Pakistani citizen living in Mississauga, arrested near Quebec at the U.S. border. He was en route to New York to carry out an ISIS-inspired mass shooting at a Jewish center.
Oh, knock me
course,
down
they
with a
talked
feather.
They talked to a mental health worker to try to get to the bottom of this radicalization problem.
Now, I'm losing track, Sheila. Was that New York intelligence or France intelligence tipping Canada off?
France, it was France on the LDDs, and then it was American, I think it was Homeland Security on the second one. So
Wow.
we're just like still watching the bank accounts of the Freedom Convoy supporters in Canada. So we don't worry about these sorts of things.
Unbelievable. Wow. Well, you know what, Sheila? I see by the clock on the wall, we must wrap this up because I have an interview coming in.
Yes.
Extra special story, I must say. So I got to tell you, I had a great time. I hope our viewers had a great time. I guess, Sheila Gunn-Reid, the question everybody wants you to answer. Did you have a New Year's resolution this year?
Yeah, I did. And normally I don't. But I'll let you go first. What was yours?
Oh, it's very simple. If, folks, you feel down with your life, I have 2 shows that are must-watch TV. One is 90 Day Fiancé, and the other is My 600-Pound Life. No matter how bad things are going for you and your family, you watch a couple of hours of that, you're going to feel like king of the world. That's my New Year's resolution. cotton on to horrific reality TV and feel that much better about your life. There you go, Sheila.
I watch a former 600-pound man named Sean review my 600-pound life episodes on YouTube when I'm on the treadmill to get my steps in when it's minus 30, like it is today. So I cannot recommend Sean enough. But my New Year's resolution is to create better bedtime habits because I am not a good sleeper at all. I sleep very little. Although I function okay on very little sleep, but I feel like maybe that's going to start to catch up to me as I am in my mid 40s. So I'm trying to create better bedtime habits, like be in bed by 10 with my phone flipped over by 10:30. And 3 days in, I've failed completely. so
shame on you, Sheila. You need your sleep. And I tell you, Sheila, the two most underrated luxuries in life is getting enough sleep and a hot shower. And I'm telling you, you deprive people of those two things for a prolonged time, and we turn into savages. I'm telling you.
We give them $10.5 million. That's what we did for Omar Khadr. He didn't get enough Betty by time. And so we decided his human rights were violated. And we're like, here's $10.5 million. Buy a strip mall in Edmonton, which is what he did. Anyways, I think that's it. The show's all wrapped up. And I figured out that auto zoom problem with my camera. So friends, you will not have to get that close to my face come Monday.
Well, there you go, folks. And on that note, we shall see you again on Monday. Thank you for all of you who tuned in, and a special thank you for all of you who contributed some money. We don't get any of Justin Trudeau's Train Seal slush fund money, so we really do depend on you to bring you our journalism. So in the meantime, as always, stay safe and stay sane.